I ended up coming to work for Melaleuca about 14 years ago, and I'm their vice president of public relations. And then 3 years ago, I was tasked with overseeing the search engine optimization, which has been a really fun connection point and a new learning opportunity for me. And then I also oversee our foundation, so our corporate giving, charitable work, and our community outreach. So I've been in uh, PRSA for most of my professional career. If they had it in where I was living at the time, that I've been a part of PRSA, and the beneficiary of attending several great APR classes in very active chapters, like like Carol and Mara were talking about. I would attend um, for the APR knowledge and also for the networking and the conversations we're stimulating. And then about a year ago, the president of the PRSA Idaho chapter, Malcolm, asked and called me up and asked if I'd help to grow the PRSA Idaho chapter in Eastern Idaho. And so that's where I've been focusing the last year, and we have roughly quarterly meetings on this side and just growing that attendance. And I see that Janet Barton's on, and she's also a board member focused with me on this side of the state too. So a little about me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I will be your panel moderator, again, also with the Idaho chapter. I serve as a vice president. Also have my APR and earned it in 2020, just before the world shut down. And later that year, and really happy to be part of this conversation and help lead us through and pick the brains of these experts. So glad that you're here. And in fact, as we get started, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so we can just focus on the speakers. But as we get started, I was having coffee with a friend who actually works at BSU. So she's a professor or an instructor for public relations. Her and I had a really interesting conversation about AI and, just the impact that it's going to have and what we need to learn. And we both recognized that, hey, we've got a lot of learning to do. We both need to really hone this skill to understand better what that impact is, what the expectations are, and how we maximize this as yet another tool in the toolkit of our skills and abilities. So it was really timely. At the same time, I was listening to a podcast of AI technologists and how it's, really potentially influencing this world. So all of this was so timely as I was preparing for this panel. And I have now a real strong appetite to continue this learning journey, as I keep calling it, and to continue to take bites and snacks and meals out of everything that is available to me. So just really encourage that and to keep that perspective in mind as we each talk to folks. So the way that this is going to work, our panel, is I encourage you to put your questions in chat. Again, hearing a little bit about each one of our panel members and the expertise and the perspectives that they have. What are your burning questions for them as you're thinking through what you really want to focus on and that the learning that you're interested in, and any sort of pathway that you could use some advice on. So as we get going here, I just really do encourage you to do that. We also welcome you to raise your hand and come off mute and put your voice in the room if you'd like to. So we've got just enough people here. I think we can manage that really well. So to kick things off, until I see some questions coming into the chat, or the Q&A section, I've got actually a couple of questions here that I wanted to start with. So one question is, and I'll direct this first to Carol, actually. Is there a specific program that you could recommend for our attendees today that really helped you and catapulted your career at some point?
Um, well, there's so many of them. The PRSA APR prep course, I mean, I was mid-career when I did it, but it took it to a whole different level. It made me think about the job I was doing in a totally different way. I had great coaches. Mara was one of them. And it having really focused more on nonprofits and public agencies, it's like I knew about other things, but I didn't really know about it. So, doing the APR prep, it really helped me understand what agencies were doing about financial public relations and the whole spectrum. Um, so I would highly recommend, whether you think you really want to get your APR or not, to do one of the prep courses. And I'll use this as a plug. The Oregon chapter, we do a prep course. It will start late summer, early fall. Members of APR throughout the district are more than welcome to join us. It's free. And if you're interested, Janelle will provide you with my email, and just email me and I will make sure that I contact you when those classes are getting going. So I would recommend that. But the other thing is taking advantage of the webinars and all the programs that PRSA offers. You mentioned AI. The Oregon chapter next week is doing a webinar on AI and the law in communications. And so just paying attention to what it doesn't even have to just be your chapter, what other chapters are doing. Most chapters, if you're a member of PRSA in another chapter, will honor you as a member and get you the member rate. And I would just take advantage of them. And so many of them are offered like during the day for an hour. Take it, use your lunch break and learn something. So I think that would be it. The other thing is going to local, regional, and national conferences. And being in the room with people who their job might not be identical, but they know what you're doing. They get it. You tell somebody that you're in public relations, they're like, oh, you're a flack. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're a spin doctor. I mean, I've been called it all. But there's strength in going into a room where people get it. They get you. And usually you can tell them your wildest story and there's going to be somebody who can top it, because we all go through it every day. So
Yeah,
that would
great
be
advice. Yeah, great advice. Yeah, I really like what you said about taking advantage. We all get the emails from, the national level PRSA, and I'll often go ahead and put them on my calendar. I'll just put them on my calendar, register. Sometimes I can make it and sometimes I can't. Sometimes something comes up. Our time is not our own so often. But boy, I guess I've always been really impressed with just the quality of the speakers and the content that they bring. That's great advice. Really appreciate that.
and one piece with that, like with PRSA, with the webinars they do. I mean, I've signed up for so many of them are free. You sign up and you're right, life happens. But a lot of times they'll send the link out because they'll record them and you can watch them on your own time. I mean, I spend a lot of time on the exercise bike watching webinars as I'm riding, so makes the hour go really quick.
Great. I'm going to ask Tony a question, then I'm going to get to Alex's question that's in the chat here. So Tony, this really goes along with the theme of today. So what I'm wondering is how you prioritize this continuing education, just as you're juggling all the demands of your life, your very demanding job, family life, all of the things that you have going on. How do you prioritize and really carve out the time to make this happen?
Oh, well, thanks for that question. That's a fun question to answer too. So, and Carol, great observations and thoughts there. I remember when those webinars, you had to pay for them. And so like when they made them free 15 years ago or so, it's like, oh, wow. Like I think I still appreciate it, like as if I have to pay for it, but when it's free, it's also easy to devalue it. But to your question, Janelle, like I think it is trying to have like the snacks and and bite size and meals and like at different times in the life and different times of the day. But I'm looking at Alex's question here about the PR student, I'm just thinking back when I was a PR student and I went to BYU and studied communications and PR. I remember my last paper for Communications 101, and it was basically like, it was about, okay, technology, the role of technology in public relations. And I still remember this paper, and my conclusion was, if you're going to be involved in PR, you better stay aware of the technology and not let it run you by. And this is back, man, when the movement from fax to email, I'm sorry, like this, that's ridiculous, but that's not that far different than what AI is in terms of how transformative it was to go, what email was back in the day. And AI, like, it's like, whoa, this really changes the industry. So from that point of view, I was like, always like, okay, I need to stay up to speed on different trends that are taking place. And so, like right now, there's a few podcasts that I'm going to listen to on my drive time, where I'm going to have some just stay in the know. Or at least every other year, I try and go to the big PRSA Icon conference, or I'll jump in and do some of these webinars, a few of them a year. Last month, a month and a half ago, the PRSA Utah chapter had an annual spring conference. And I saw the lineup of speakers, and I drove down to that one. I just think that this is the best investment of time that we can make in our careers. And that's whether it's APR or just studying a little bit. How can we advise and become trusted advisors if we're not aware of what's happening around the world and in our industry? So I just try and welcome it and say, I need this to be a part of me. That doesn't mean I'm perfect in adopting it. Maybe it's because I'm not so perfect in adopting it is why I have to just keep listening to it and try and let it absorb me. And then there also is an element of humility. I hate to say it, where I'm talking with my colleagues about something that they're really good at, and maybe I'm not. And I'm asking questions and trying to figure out how to apply a concept that they might understand, but in my professional world too. So that's having that network of colleagues that you can go to and ask questions is also, I think, a really important part of staying up to speed.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that perspective very much. And I just wanted to riff a little bit on what you just said and kind of go back to, how you prioritize the learning, how you juggle everything. And I think something that I try to do is what is that one thing I'm really focused on right now that I feel will really benefit, my work, and carve out the time for those specific things. Because when you're motivated, maybe I've got a project where that knowledge or that skill will really help me provide a better product at the end of the day. So really honing in and seeking out that kind of training in the moment. But to come back to Alec, your question, I wanted to also give Mara a chance to answer that, because I think it's such a good one. And Mara, I think your hunger for for continuing education is a really good one to address what Alec is saying. So if you don't mind taking that, Mara.
I'm delighted. And Alec, one of the things that's important is to get experience and to look at potentially internships. I don't know where you're studying, but looking for internships and reaching out to PRSA members, because they're friendly folks and they're there to support you, and to look around for internships to build your portfolio and your experience and maybe where you want to settle, because there's many choices in PR. And throughout my career, I've done health and real estate and restaurants and shopping centers, and finally settled on doing a lot of health PR. But without that internship experience, you won't know, and then it'll help you get your next job and the job after that and the job after that. I don't know if anyone wants to add to that as Alec is learning.
I think very well
Okay.
said. I really, really like what you said about reaching out to other PR professionals who are established. That network is incredibly important. And I'm just a little insight into my situation. I just was recently with the Forest Service, the federal government, and with everything going on, I'm no longer with the Forest Service. So what I'm finding is that these networks are absolutely critical. And Alec, as you're just starting your career, building those networks, establishing those connections is 100% gold. So yes, Mara, thank you for saying that. I could not agree more. That's really
And
great.
one more thing,
Yeah,
it builds your portfolio. And probably these days you need a digital portfolio that presents you as a job candidate, but also the work you have done in school and outside of school in an internship situation.
excellent.
I think that's important, Laura, distinction, because I've seen PR students, a lot of times their internship experience is almost all exclusively for their school. And there, to me, there's a bit of a devalue of somebody that's done an internship or two, and they've only done PR for the school or for the student government, which is great, and I think that's fantastic. But there's, to me, an even higher level if they've reached out and they've done a little bit of volunteer work with in PR for the nonprofit, for a different organization in the community, for their local chamber of commerce. To me, that's one step above than working for the student government doing PR.
Well, and
Or
if you're also, if the fact that you're here, so you know about PRSA, if there's events, volunteer on the PRSA events, get to know the professionals. If they see you're a hard worker when they have a job coming up, or if they hear something, you're going to come to mind. And that's how I started with Women in Communications way back. Somebody when I was in college told me I needed to be a part of this organization, and it was somebody I respected, and I went, and she helped me get my first job. But it was making that connection and building those relationships and volunteering. So that's always another way to get some of that experience, is even with the chapter, doing some volunteer work.
Excellent. Well, all great insights. Thank you all. I want to shift a little bit and really focus in on this APR. That's something we all have in common. We have lots in common, I know, but today, that's something that all of us panelists have in common. So, Carol, while you have the floor, I'd really like to just have you talk a little bit about how that designation, those credentials, have really set you apart from other colleagues, and how it's propelled your career in ways that may have been surprising to you.
Sure. So I got my APR in 2004, and I was working in public education at the time, and I joke that they really like the initials behind the name, but they really like the initials behind the name. It was something that was of value, because when you think of like superintendents and things, a lot of them are doctorates students, or they have their masters. So being able to have that and have that on my business card, I was paid attention to. With my colleagues that didn't have their APR, I would find in meetings, they'd turn to me and like, well, Carol, you've got your APR. What do you think? So it was a way of building credibility. But the other thing is, and this sounds very self-serving, but it helped me win awards, because I understood RPI. I understood about research and planning and implementation and evaluation. I understood why it was important. So I would do that when I would start a campaign, whether it was for a bond or something. I would base the campaign on the research, and it was the things I learned. So one, it helped in my job for me to pass school bonds, but when I would enter them into a PRSA contest, like for spotlights or, whatever, I knew what they were looking for. I could write the entry because it was based on what I knew from my APR.
Excellent.
So that's kind of a self-serving thing, but you know what? It works.
And that's, well, that, at the end of the day, we all are trying to get ahead, level up, add value to the organizations in which we work. And so I think that's great. One of the things that was really surprising to me, or not surprising, but I guess something that I appreciate now, is that APR requires you to maintain. So this is you are making a commitment to continue your education to earn that APR designation and credentials. So Mara, I'd really like you to talk a little bit about that process of not only earning your APR, but maintaining it, and how that really helps you stay current. It's just kind of what we're talking about today.
It's really it's the PRSA and the APR fosters lifelong learning, and it's made me, using our food metaphor, thirsty for additional certifications and lifelong learning. So it actually the test and the process of going through that learning cycle has made me able to get additional certificates and degrees and different accreditations throughout my career. That's helpful for me. And with the chapter or with the national, to continue to keep your APR fresh, it's not that hard. Read a magazine article, attend a webinar, participate on a board. Participating on a PRSA board or a committee gets you those points to keep your APR fresh and your certification valued or lively or up to date with what's going on. Does that make sense to folks?
It does to me, and I'm not seeing any comments here or hands up. I appreciate that. The other thing too, I'd add on to that. I appreciate that ethics is a requirement, and I think in today's world, really having a North Star for conducting our work ethically, and those reminders that you get when you take that ethics training, I think is a really good thing. And again, just adds more credibility to the work that we do. So yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate it. Tony, I wanted to turn to you, and this could be specific to APR or just really in general. I'd love to give some nuggets to people, very specific resources that you found especially helpful. And this could be just a webinar you attended, a certificate program, an event that you went to, anything that you found especially helpful as you're, in the last, say, year or so, that others might consider to add to their toolkit or their menu, to stick with the the metaphor for food.
Yeah, it's a little different than the APR questions. I think it's great from just staying current and up to date. Part of it is what are the things that are driving your goals at that point in time, right? Or for me. And so for me, I mentioned a few minutes ago, like, okay, I oversee now the search engine optimization. And there is so much pushback from Google about AI. And so they want to make sure that copy is, let's say on a web page, is real copy and not just AI driven. So for me, I'm trying to understand as much as I can about optimization on the search engines. I'm trying to, and how to affect it. I'm interested in like the AI overviews and how those are being created, and search engines optimization for like how we're going to be able to appear in all the pieces of content that I write, and seeing those sources appear in the AI is really helpful. But if your question's like, what are some of those resources? Well, there's different industry publications that I'm looking at, like Search Engine Journal. There's a few different vendors that I work with, and that I'm talking to them about their expertise too, trying to draw it in and bring training into our team meetings. On the team, I have there's 3 different individuals, and we'll give them time to be able to share something that they've learned in the week. So with the team, and bring it back. So we're trying to learn from each other at all different points. I talked about some podcasts, like there's one that I listen to Think Fast, Talk Smart by Stanford School of Business, and they're talking about different communications issues. There's a great podcast that Shell Holtz does with talking about different technologies and AI use that keeps me current and think. For example, the other day they were talking about, a podcast and podcasting where AI is going to take it, and it just so happened that on my team I had created, mostly for experimentation, a 7-minute podcast, all AI driven, and it sounded phenomenal. And it was about a story that I'd written. I'm like, that's terrible and wonderful.
It's scary.
All sorts of ethical issues here. And I bet if we just served that up and people heard it and I didn't disclose, which hits some of those ethics, they probably would be pretty torqued off. And so thinking through these issues, but I really appreciate the fact that I could do it, but now I got to use the wisdom and the judgment about, but should I do it? Right. So those are some of those things where I'm just trying to say, we're honestly, I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything. Like Carol, it sounds like she leads the APR class. Phenomenal. I got my APR 15 years ago, and I was looking through the APR study guide in prep for this meeting, and I thought, man, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that as well as I could. Oh, I could do that a lot better. Oh yeah, I forgot about those different things. So I think one of the things that for me that APR is so important is, when you know the rules of the game, you might break the rules, but you know the rules of the game. And I think that's really important. You know the rules, and then you start to say, okay, maybe my company's not going to spend all this money on the research up front of a campaign. But you know what? I'm going to at least look for some quick wins to get a little research and check in, because I know that that's the first part of the plan, right? You got to do the research and then move into the planning. So I'm going to at least try and do what I can here, because this is the real world, and build that into my campaign. And then when you get into different phases, I'm like, well, I know how it's supposed to be done, and now I'm going to break a few rules on how I'm going to do it here, whether it's a volunteer work on a nonprofit board, or if it's for a campaign for Melaleuca or something else, right? I think it's important to know the standards because you're learning it and you've experienced it, and then break the rules but you know them.
Yeah, I really appreciate what I heard you as you were explaining all that. Is it feels like you create a real learning culture with everybody and then you also model it, and it just sounds like such a great environment to cultivate within your organization.
I think
really
best PR folks can do that. Right?
Yeah.
They're always. I mean, here's Mara, 30 years APR. I mean, and you're still learning. And Carol's literally leading the class, and she's still learning. That I think that we can't let our time or our age be an excuse. Maybe that just means we have to learn even more, because there's a lot of things that that Alec was talking about. Like, he's coming out of school, but he's learned a lot of things that some of us in PR, we have to go back and figure out that he's just grown up doing. And then, of course, there's other things that he'll probably need to learn from us. So that's
absolutely. So thank you. Yeah, great insight. So I encourage folks, if you've got questions for our panelists, take advantage of this opportunity to get your questions in front of us. We're really happy, any of these folks, to answer those. I do have a couple more there, and Carol, I just wanted to lob one. Oops, sorry. I'm just kind of getting back to my questions here. Sorry. Just thinking about the Oregon chapter, and you're leading that. You're about to have, I think, an APR class coming up in Yes. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind. I think that's a great resource for folks. And then I will have just a few more minutes after you answer that question.
Sure. So the Oregon chapter has been doing an APR prep class for years. Mara is the godmother of this class. We all have built on what she brought forward. It will start in late summer, early fall. In fact, Mara and I are meeting in about a week and a half with some other folks to kind of plan out the curriculum for it. But it's open to any member. And if your members in Idaho, you're more than welcome to join us. It's done on Zoom. And we go through all the various things that you need to know to pass the APR test. So we talk about RPI. You will understand when we say RPI that we mean research, planning, implementation, and evaluation. We talk about ethics. We talk about crisis communications. We talk about media relations. And we try to bring in folks to do the presentation, not just the handful of us who are there every week, but folks from outside who have their APRs, who feel really passionate about one of those areas. And so it's just a really great opportunity to spend some time with professionals. We've all gone through the APR process. We continue to work in it and to learn what you need to know to get your APR. Now, part of the process is also doing a panel presentation. And so we create opportunities for you to work on that presentation and present it in front of your peers and the coaches and get some valuable feedback before you actually go in front of your panel. And so it's just another thing we offer. And it's a great process. And I'll say this, being a part of it as a coach, I learn as much, if not more, than the folks who are going through it. And I would say that about being a mentor also. I mean, I've mentored quite a few folks to get their APR. And someone asked me one time why I do it. I was like, oh my gosh, I learned so much more than I feel like I give them. Even listening to their presentations and coaching, but I'm learning about their job. And it's what Tony talked about. I've been in the field for over 40 years and I still am learning. When I started out, I remember when we got a fax machine. I thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Oh my God, I don't have to like mail or drive press releases. I can actually fax them out and they'll get them within that day. So I mean, we've come such a long way. But mentoring folks, it's like they talk about something. I'll be like, oh, tell me a little more about that. I remember the first time I even heard AI, it was from someone I was mentoring, and I was like, well, tell me more. And that was kind of my introduction to it. So, and those things happen in the class. Because we have some younger members who are going to get their APR. And Mara's right. We have some who, oh yeah, I've been taking the class off and on for the last 10 years. And one of them now is finally, she committed, she paid the money, she's got presentation almost ready. So we're going to get her through it.
I want to add a couple things, if I might. Accreditation is the accepted body of knowledge for professional communication. And when we started offering these courses for free, we were in a recession. And I don't know what the district is offering, but there is a cost. Our course is free, but when you go to take the test with National, there is a fee. We used to, and I don't know what our chapter or our district is doing, we used to offer scholarships. So if you took the test and you passed, you would get reimbursed. So I don't know what that situation is, but it's important that it is the established body of knowledge for professional communicators. And I don't know, Carol, I don't know if we still have scholarships or not. So no.
No, we don't right now. But here's the other thing I would say. There's also other organizations that are a part of the accreditation board, including the National School PR Association. There's like the Health PR Association. And I say that because when you consider that you're going to go take this test, remember, it's not just about the specific industry that you're doing public relations for. It covers a really broad base. And it's a good way to learn about some of these other organizations and stuff too.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I appreciate, I just appreciate, like, I didn't realize that you would have a class that like folks outside of Oregon could participate in. So that is amazing. We'll definitely be sharing that across our Idaho chapter, and really looking at collaborating more with the folks around Idaho and other chapters, sister chapters, you know, here in the Pacific Northwest. So great news. I wanted to close out one last question for you, Mara, about the College of Fellows. So I have just a few other resources I wanted to show to people after we finished with this panel discussion. So if we could just have you talk a little bit about the College of Fellows and that experience and what that's brought to you, for those who might be interested.
It's a big step. It's tedious to apply to the College of Fellows. You have to be able to write case studies, and they need to be pristine. But what's also really important, and what they look at, is what you are doing as a communicator and how you have created community and how you give back to your community just as part of your practice. It's just like living and breathing to give back to your community. And we all do different things. One thing is volunteering with our chapter and giving back and mentoring people. I do a lot of health education for people at federal poverty level who are living in assisted housing, and teach them how to advocate, which I learned through APR, how to advocate for themselves, how to advocate for their benefits and their rights. And that's pretty much what they're looking at in the College of Fellows, is professionalism, high standards for yourself, and the ability to give back to your community, just like breathing. It's a natural thing, just like PRSA fosters learning to be a natural thing that you do, to the point where I look forward to the APR classes because it's a time to share and often a time to laugh, because we used to start with everybody would tell their war story of the week of what happened at work that made them crazy, but we all try to help that person deal with an issue at work. And so College of Fellows is more national, and it's just like APR on steroids. That's about all I can say.
That's our quote for the day. I like that. Thank you so much. I wanted to walk you through some of the things that we talked about today, some of the resources available to you, and just show you what they look like. Before I do that, though, we wanted to provide one of our attendees today with a gift card. This is an incentive for joining, a little bit of a prize for being part of the conversation today. So Alec Vaden, you will be receiving a gift card for your participation. I'll get to, we've got a second gift card that we're going to award, but there's a call to action and an actual follow-up that will have to be earned for that one. So stay tuned in here through the rest of this. We've got just a few minutes left. But again, I just wanted to walk you through some of the things that I found incredibly helpful. So kind of starting with the snack, or I'm sorry, the bite. I'm going to share my screen here, and you'll just bear with me a little bit. It should be in this screen. And are you seeing PRSA resources? Somebody can just give me a...
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So these I found incredibly helpful. These are actual toolkits. So it's a variety of different toolkits that you can access that are, topical, issue specific tools that you can download. And, just tackling misinformation looks like a good one. AI Insights, that looks really good. Again, this would be kind of in that bite category. What are some things I can just download and quickly access that might give me some really good tools to add to my toolkit? This next one is, so this is just all the different webinars that you can take advantage of. And again, these are at that national level. You'll probably be served up with chapter level, regional level webinars as well, just like today. But take advantage of these. What is biting you right now? What do you need to learn about right now to do your job better? Chances are you might find a quick little webinar that you can add to your calendar and prioritize that work. Next are these certificate programs. I wanted to give you my own testimonial on navigating today's reputation risk management. I took this certificate program last fall and it was excellent. I was really kind of blown away at the quality of the instruction, his knowledge level. The entire class was engaged the entire time. It was over 6 weeks, an hour and a half once a week, and then a little bit of reading to stay up on what the next week had to bring. Very doable. And after 1 or 2 sessions, I realized how invaluable it was to me. And boy, it really kept my attention. So highly recommend these certificate programs. They're not free. It is something you have to pay for. Members get a discount, non-members can still attend, but it is a little bit higher. So I just really encourage you to take a look at those. I hadn't done one before and I was really impressed. We talked a bit about the accreditation and public relations. So here's the resource for that. I like that they give you this sort of 4-step process on what it takes. We've also talked about it here today. Definitely something worth thinking about and pursuing. What I really like about what Carol was saying is, Oregon is hosting, a chapter level process, and I think study groups will form oftentimes as people are engaged and start going through the process. So it can also be a real good social and networking opportunity. And then last,
Janelle,
yeah.
APR is, at least it used to be, a recommendation of roughly 5 years into the practice of PR. And so I think it's so knowing when is the right time to move into that is important. And if there's classes that Carol and Oregon chapter are offering, and somebody's at 3.5 years, that can be great because it's like, oh, it's gonna get them started in the process even before they hit the 5 years. Because that once you undergo through the class, you'll also be thinking a little bit differently about the work that you're doing. Like, oh, now I'm going to be working on a strategic plan for a client. Perhaps I'm going to try and implement some of those things. Or there's a law that's going on and you need to pull up that knowledge of communications law. So I think trying to figure it out where you are in your career timeline and when to put it in can be helpful too.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Yeah, good points. And then Mara talked about the College of Fellows, and I actually initiated the application process, and it was unfortunately during a really intense time of my work and family life. I just could not take it on, but it sure seems beneficial. It's just another way to really level up. So I just wanted to share those things with you as a way to, a little bit of an introduction and a way to think about these different resources available. And again, anyone can take advantage of most of those opportunities. Those that do have fees associated, you'll just get a discount if you're a member versus those that, folks who don't, you'd have to pay a little bit more if you're not a member. Anyway, I wanted to just kind of run through that with you real quick. Before we close out today's session, I just wanted to give each panel member just a minute. This is a speed round here. So just a minute to have any closing thoughts, any just pearls of wisdom that you want to impart before we say goodbye today. And I'll start with you, Carol.
Don't be discouraged if you take the class or think you want to do it and find you don't have time. It just means it's not the right time. that you're still going to get something out of it. So my words of wisdom and the words of Nike, just do it. There's no better
Brilliant.
time. Just do it. You're always going to be busy. There's always going to be something else. Just do it.
I like it. How about you, Mara?
I'm going to quote my grandfather, Charlie Goldberg, who used to say, if you don't ask, you don't get. And when I say if you don't ask, don't be afraid to ask for help or support. That's what PRSA is all about. And I used to say pick up the phone and ask, but send an email, go through a LinkedIn and ask another PRSA member what it's like, or any of the coaches. There will be coaches for Carol's class. Any one of us are happy to answer your questions. So don't be afraid to ask.
I really love that one. Yes. Tony.
Well, I think that for those that jump into it, you're going to find there's blind spot. Like, do you have any blind spots in your training? You'll spot them through your studying with APR. You'll end up with a credibility booster. You'll become a better and a higher trusted advisor through the APR process. But I would look at it, it's far more than just a resume booster. This is like a transformational experience. So when you go through it, you're going to become better. It's going to teach you how to become a more well-rounded, comprehensive, and more respected professional. And just for those that are thinking, I'm not sure I have the time, yeah, it's a time investment, but it's really manageable. You break it down, it doesn't have into bite-sized pieces. It doesn't have to take over your life. And what Mara and Carol have offered the PRSA Idaho chapter members is a gift. Like they're going to do a class, take advantage of it. I mean, I'm thinking I'll jump in and just do it because, and if I can do it after 25 years and and I've done it already, like if I'm going to learn something, so are you. Everyone's going to learn from it just by being together and communicating and laughing about each other's work stories, and just keep getting better. So I encourage you to make it this time investment. It will be the best thing you can do for your career.
Excellent. Well, not surprised you all have really stellar advice and pearls of wisdom. I think the thread I want to pull and has been really propelling me forward is the curiosity, to just stay curious. I think, Mara, you might have said something about that earlier. And I think that is absolutely key. And what are you curious about? Go and learn something about that. And the networking that you are able to do along the way, the people that you're able to meet, will definitely benefit you, both professionally and personally. I consider a lot of the PR friends that I've made over the years to be good friends. And it's just been such a rewarding journey. And so thank you all so much. Before we close out though, that call to action and that last incentive. So what we're asking for you today is to make a commitment to your learning journey, to what makes you curious, to the menu of learning that you want to take bites out of and make meals of. So along that way, what we'll do is if you will send me your some sort of proof of registration for any type of learning. It doesn't have to be through PRSA. So any registration or any way of you to prove to us that you have actually signed up for something over this next month to continue on with this learning journey, then we will be sending you a gift card as an incentive for you to make that commitment and to make that commitment to yourself. So we're really happy to do that. We're so happy to be part of you know, what excites you and your commitment to continue to learn and to grow your profession. So we also encourage you to join other PRSA Idaho events, or, you know, other chapters and regions, national. Just continue to take advantage of the resources they have to offer. Again, I'm just so incredibly you know, surprised and pleased with the quality that I encounter every single time. So I will share this slide deck. It will include all of our emails. So again, you now have you've expanded your network if we're not already in it. And so you're welcome to reach out to any of us. Please share this. This content will be posted, and we'll be making this webinar available for others. And if you found it helpful and some good insights, share the link. It'll probably be a little while before we have it posted, but we will get it up on our website. And just thank you so much. I know we're just about a minute over our time, and really appreciate you joining today. Thank you so much. And if you're still on, Alec, I have your email address, so we do have a way to reach out to you with your gift card. Congratulations. Thank you all.
Thanks. We'll all be in touch, I hope.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be following up with all of you, and certainly with the participants. I think there's a few still kind of on, and we'll definitely get an email out with the slide deck and all of our contact information. So yeah, thank you. I mean, that was great. I just thought you all just knocked it out of the park.
Well, I think it was important to do. Okay, I'll say goodbye to everybody.
Bye. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks, Tony.